This afternoon I want to talk to you to begin with about two very exceptional groups of officers on our department. The first group is our Metro Unit officers. That's a group of approximately 80 officers who work in uniform and covert capacity within the field as a task force to basically go out and find and arrest the folks that our detectives have created warrants for. And I want to talk about some of their successes in 2014 because I think that they're really exceptional. And I'll go someplace with this in just a few minutes. They arrested over 1,400 people on felony warrants in 2014. They arrested over 400 people on misdemeanor warrants in 2014. They made over 700 arrests on view or in the act in 2014. So that's a total of 2,500 arrests that this unit made during the year of 2014. They arrested 44 murder suspects. Now, we had 116 murders, the lowest murder rate since 1930s, and they arrested 44 murder suspects, 187 sexual assault suspects, 230 aggravated robbery suspects, one of the areas where we had challenges last year, 364 aggravated assault suspects. So I can continue to go on and talk about the guns and the 452 drug seizures, but I think you see that this is an incredible group of officers who is very important in our success in crime reduction in 2014. The second group I want to talk about is our organized retail theft group. Now, this group is a group that in 2014 was comprised of 2 sergeants and 15 detectives. And really, they've only been around a couple of years. And their job was to go out there and find out where people are fencing stolen locations and shut those down, where serial property crimes are taking place and who's doing them, and put those people in jail. And over the last 2 years, they've recovered more than $2 million in property crime operations and closed over 200 illegal fencing operations. Now, some of the things that they've recovered: multiple tractor trailers from cargo thefts, and that includes what's in the tractor trailers: TVs, appliances, sugar, paint. They recovered $8,000 worth of tires that a fence wanted to buy, $30,000 worth of batteries, almost $500,000 worth of stolen clothing, and a Redbox machine, for those of you who use Redbox. So their investigations typically take a little longer because they do have to work through and find out where the fences are and who's involved in this. A lot of this is a very organized crime. But during 2014, they made 47 felony level arrests of a felony 3 or greater. So as you know, Dallas just experienced its 11th consecutive year of overall crime reduction. And during this time frame, the police departments utilized a variety of strategies to address emerging crime trends and to increase citizen confidence and partnerships. So essentially, what I'm saying is that we just didn't get here by doing the same thing over and over and over again. And so to name a few of the things we've done over these years, we implemented the use of CompStat. We had a task force called Operation Disruption, and that's what they did. They went out and disrupted street-level crime. We had a couple of years where our detectives would spend a week or two back in patrol answering calls and helping out with crime. Our youth outreach unit, the Police Athletic League. We've had advancements in technology, and of course the 2 units that I just spoken to you about. Those are some of the few things that we've done. And as we move into 2015, the department continues to adapt and evolve in an effort to increase efficiency while maintaining crime reduction capabilities. So the announcement that I'm making this afternoon is just another in a list of steps we've undertaken to continue to address crime in the community. The department will be creating a major case unit within my investigations bureau. And this unit will be created by combining the organized retail theft unit that I just spoke to you about with the Metro unit that I just spoke to you about. Select officers from the Metro unit will become part of organized retail theft, effectively doubling the current investigative staffing of that unit. And this organizational change will allow the organized retail theft investigators to increase their capacity to address organized retail crime, as well as high-profile serial offenses such as safe burglaries and ATM thefts. Currently, when we have serial property crimes like this, they get investigated in our property crimes division, which has 7 satellites at each of our 7 patrol divisions. And so sometimes these serial crimes, such as the ATM thefts that we've had here lately, which we'll talk about in a little more detail in just a little bit, they get investigated at 7 different places when it'd be more efficient to bring it together. And that's what this unit will allow us to do. Now, the remaining Metro unit officers will continue to remain in their current uniform and covert capacity, but they'll be assigned to the Investigations Bureau within the major case unit. And Metro was previously assigned to a different bureau, but it spent the majority of its time locating and arresting individuals who were wanted on warrants that were created in my bureau, the Investigations Bureau. So we believe that this revision to the department's organization will allow for more direct and efficient communication between the investigative units and this major case unit. Now I'm going to turn the podium over for a second to Lieutenant Ruben Ramirez, who's going to be running this unit, and he's going to address a serial crime trend that's occurring in our community, and afterwards we'll take some questions from you guys.
As the chief said, I'm the lieutenant over the organized retail theft unit. I'm going to recap just a couple things before I go into some of the statistics regarding the ATM offenses. The organized crime group, not to differ from a unit that specifically targets organized crime, what we're looking at is organized crime as it relates to property offenses. In the organized retail theft unit, we had targeted fences, boosters. Our investigations involved those that were boosting and fencing property in the mid to upper level range. With this expansion, we're growing into the serial crimes unit, which again is going to be offenses as they relate to property crimes. Specifically, the serial crimes unit or squad will be focusing on ATM thefts, business safes, pharmacy burglaries. In the past, we've had problems with chronic cigarette burglaries. Those are the types of serial crimes that we'll be investigating. Year to date, on our ATM offenses, since January, there are 20 offenses in the city of Dallas involving suspects that have specifically targeted ATMs. The majority of those businesses targeted were small businesses. There were 2 banks that were targeted, but again, the majority, by and large, is small businesses and convenience stores. In 9 of those 20 offenses, there were vehicles that were used to ram the building in order to take the ATM. Those are the ones that we've seen video clips of. It's usually a half-ton or 3/4-ton pickup barreling through the brick and mortar with the objective solely to target that ATM. We've compiled some statistics on the divisions and stats, and pretty much everything we've looked at shows no consistent pattern. At this point, they're just equally distributed amongst the different divisions. I think the other jurisdictions are seeing the same problem. No real trend or pattern at this point. The only thing that we can say at this point with our 20 offenses, the earliest one we had was at 8 p.m. The latest one was at 5 a.m. But again, the vast majority of those 20 are happening between 3 and 5 a.m. Suspect info. I know everyone wants to know what kind of suspect info we have. At this point, we're still compiling, because we've just recently compiled the investigators from the different divisions all into one centralized location. We're still gathering our video evidence and our photographs. We do have one photograph that we're going to put up here shortly. But I'll tell you that the video is incredibly important. High definition video helps us a whole bunch in figuring out the little patterns and techniques of the suspects. Each of these offenses, focusing on an ATM, was committed in 90 seconds or less. So it's it's fairly quick, but an interesting point within that 90 seconds is of the 9 offenses where a vehicle was used to ram through the brick wall, there were only 2 successful ATM thefts. The majority of them barreled their vehicles through the brick and mortar and then were unsuccessful at actually taking the ATM. All of our suspects in every offense, all 20 offenses in the city of Dallas, all suspects have always been masked and gloved. Certainly witness and video become incredibly important when the suspects use the mask and gloves. I'll get into a little more about the mask and glove piece in a minute here. Now, historically, our department has created task force in the past when these types of offenses have spiked. You'll probably recall in 2013 we had a rash of ATM offenses in our city as well as the state. Well, in 2013, when the chief created the task force, we were able to make 60 arrests in that task force. 40 of those arrests, of those 60 arrests, 40 remain in prison or jail today. Texas Penal Code 3103 outlines ATM thefts as a felony too. When the suspect targets a location with the sole purpose of taking an ATM or its contents, it's immediately a felony 2 offense. And then so, of course, with our unit focusing on organized crime, if we're able to apply the organized crime piece to it, then it automatically bumps up a statute up to a felony 1. So that's has a lot to do with why 40 of those 60 arrests are still in prison today. So it's not a it's a property offense that comes with a really stiff penalty. And in many of those cases, the task force opted to focus on DNA evidence. And so with the statute of limitations being 5 years, there's DNA evidence available that still allows us to file on some of these targets. And a lot of them, we still have our eye on them. We know exactly who they are. Task force in place. This piece is just something to kind of recap what the chief mentioned earlier. By centralizing these offenses into one location, we basically we prevent losing any type of information or evidence through translation. There's no concern about people not talking to each other, not sharing a trend or a piece of information. Certainly a tip. By a centralized location, we get everything in one house, and that certainly applies to the exterior jurisdictions. The other suburbs are also dealing with these types of offenses, but for networking purposes with the businesses and for coordinating with other jurisdictions, we're able to capture all intel, all trends, all evidence, and certainly helps us in prosecution. From the business piece, we certainly want the businesses to put themselves in a position to harden themselves as a target as much as possible. I won't go into some of the specific strategies, but I will say that lighting, upgraded recording systems, high definition interior and exterior recording systems are very helpful. And then probably one of the key pieces that I think has helped us in these past, with our task force in the past is our information sources. Dallas is one of the best cities for policing itself as it relates to these property crimes. When people come in and damage these businesses, a lot of these stores are small convenience stores. They're individual owners just trying to run a business. And when these suspects come in and target them and basically break a hole in their brick wall for an ATM, obviously a lot of people suffer. The customers that that like the convenience of having a store with an ATM, and certainly the owners themselves. But one of the things that we saw in 2013 that was so helpful was there were so many citizens in the Dallas area that actually came forward with tips of who they believe these suspects were. Sure, they'll mask themselves up and they'll cover themselves up, but that's one element. That's the facial features, that's the tattoos. But you'll notice with the high definition video and there's so many different characteristics, the way they walk and dress and whatnot. And citizens know who these people are. And in the past, they've been great about bringing that information to us. It leads to quicker arrest, and then certainly we always want those citizens to know that there's rewards available for that type of information. I'll show you this picture that we have of one of our suspects in a most recent offense. This was on January 10th. This is at the, I believe this was one of the offenses that was at a credit union. There were 4 suspects total in this offense, so of course that meets our organized crime piece. But that's our target, and I think that's the only one. I thought we had a second one to put out there. But as we develop more information, bringing more of these videos and photos to our office, we'll put that information out to you as we get it. Because any bit of help that we can get is certainly valuable. I'll open it for a few questions.